Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. The holidays are not automatically cheerful for everyone. In fact, if you're queer, trans, non-religious, or facing a family gathering where your identity doesn't align, you are facing more than just a time of jolly decorations and food. This time of year, many people within the LGBTQI+ community, underneath the former religious umbrella, are navigating what to do when the holidays come up. Do you go to the family gatherings that you've been going to for years? Do you talk and interact like normal with the people that you've been watching either on Facebook or on other social medias, or maybe even in person, say and do things that do not align with respecting who you are as a person, respecting the people you care about, respecting, life as a whole, depending on the people you're talking about? As it gets more and more normalized to have a difference of opinion, which actually means let's deny people's rights to exist, it becomes harder and harder to reconcile the idea of coming together over a shared meal, over the idea of exchanging presents, over the idea of celebrating the year or a religious or secular symbolic holiday, and actually be able to spend time in the midst of people who don't see value in who you are or your relationship or the people you care about. So while I've been doing a similar video for a couple of years now, every year I feel like it becomes more and more important to do this type of video so that people have in their hands a recent plan on how to handle these things. So we're going to start with number one. And number one is the most important thing. Do you go or do you not go? It is completely fair for you to decide not to attend a gathering that is not going to be beneficial emotionally for you. You're allowed to do that. And most of us are aware that that decision does not come free of fallout. Because while you are free to make your decisions for what you need to do, other people are also allowed to have their responses to your decision. But you do not have to take on their responses. That's so much easier said than done, and I understand that, and there's so much nuance to that. That could be a video in and of itself, for sure. But the bottom line is that your peace of mind is important. Your safety is important. Your identity, your relationship, your friendships, your understanding of human worth is not just a matter of opinion. Your political views are a lens into how you feel about people, about human dignity, about the rights a person does or doesn't have. And you do not have to agree to disagree on fundamental and or basic human decency. Assuming you decide to go, which, let's be realistic, if you're watching this video, you probably have almost decided to go, or not going isn't really a viable option for you at this point in your life for whatever reason, which is fair. Let's talk about 5 things that you need to do before you go in order to keep yourself safe. Number 1, define your minimum safe space. What does that mean? Glad you asked. Draw your boundary around yourself and do not compromise on it. And know what that is before you walk in the door, really before you interact with the people who may be inclined to not respect that boundary. So for instance, if they
use my dead name, I am going to leave the room.
I am not going to answer to it.
I am going to leave the house.
Whatever that line is and what your response is going to be to it, go through your reasonable expectations of things that could potentially happen, knowing the people who are going to be there. Decide what you want your response to be and have that in mind before you go. I have a conversation fairly often with people where I say, listen, at some point down the road, this conversation is going to happen, whatever that conversation is. You need to decide now, before it happens, how you're going to respond to it, because these people in your life are not getting your message. These people in your life are not hearing you the way you think they're hearing you, as exampled by these actions. Let's talk about how you're going to handle it, right? And to varying degrees, they listen or don't listen or whatever, which is fine. Like, people can live their own lives, but always people who don't decide beforehand how they're going to respond wish that they had. If you decide beforehand how you're going to respond and it doesn't happen, you've just been prepared. If you don't decide beforehand and it happens, you are caught off guard, you are flustered, you are scared, you are resentful, you are in fight or flight mode, your nervous system goes into disarray. There's so many things that can happen in that reality, which is much more likely to happen. Let's be realistic here. So plan ahead of time. if you know these people, you can reasonably assume things that are and are not likely to happen. So figure those out, figure out what's aligned for you, and figure out how you're going to respond if someone steps over that line. Number 2, choose your emotional investment ahead of time. Not every conversation is worth your emotional investment. Not every fight needs to be fought by you in every situation. You are not a bad advocate. You are not a bad friend. You are not a bad queer person or a bad former religious person if you do not engage every time you're baited. You don't have to engage. You can. I'm not telling you not to, but I'm saying you don't have to. Decide what is worth putting emotion into and what is just better for you to stay out of or to end conversations over. So if somebody wants to know if you are going to church at your new location and you know very well you're not because you're done going to church and they don't want to accept that you're done going to church, you can have a conversation with them about how you are done going to church, and then they're likely to ask you why, and then you get to decide if you're going to respond to them or not. Or you can say, haven't found one yet, and leave it there. You're allowed to say stuff like that if it means preserving your own emotions. Like, that's okay. The thing is, people who are walking into these environments who already have a preconceived notion of what, let's just be realistic, people on the left are thinking or feeling or acting like. You're not going to change their mind in one holiday dinner conversation, probably. And if you do have the power to change their mind in that one dinner conversation, maybe you save it for a day that's not the holiday. Because if it's in front of a lot of people, they are less likely to hear you and you are less likely to deliver the information the way you want to. Say your younger brother is extraordinarily conservative now and you don't even necessarily recognize him from who he was when you were both younger. And you both show up to like Thanksgiving and he starts to have a conversation with you, but he seems kind of open to talking. You don't necessarily want to open that can at Thanksgiving. Like, hey, I would love to talk to you about this. Can we set a time after today that you and I can discuss this topic? Why not talk about it later, right? You get to decide how much emotion and effort and energy you put into things because you are in control of your emotion. People do not have rights to your energy and you get to decide who can access it. Maybe you have like a light mode plan, which is friendly but very surface level conversation, and a deep mode plan for people that you feel reasonably safe with and can get into deeper, more authentic conversation with should the topics arise. By now, you probably know who's on which side of that line, right? All right, number 3, have a real exit strategy and plan. And what I mean by that is if you are going to a family gathering and you are staying with family, have a place nearby that you know you can stay. If you're traveling with pets, research the hotels in the area that take pets. Be aware of what's around you and what your options are so that you are not stuck spending time with people who are not willing to see you, your partner, your lives, your friends, or your religious beliefs as valid. You don't need to stay in that environment if you don't want to or you don't choose to, but you have to stay in that environment if you haven't made your backup plan. That also means if you're there with a partner or there with a friend, have a code, have an understanding of like, this is what I need in order to have a timeout. Like, can you come with me into another room? Help me co-regulate and calm down. Co-regulating is so important, which is why I really do encourage people, if you don't have a partner to travel with, maybe you travel with a friend. If that's an option, would be great. If you aren't traveling and people are coming to you, maybe have a friend or someone come over and hang out while family is there. The co-regulation with someone that you trust, which essentially means stand face to face with them, have them breathe in and out slow. I actually advocate for like putting your hands on each other's shoulders so you can like feel the breathing, but you know, touch is a very individual thing. So do what you need to. Look each other in the eye, match your breathing to theirs, allow them to help you regulate so that you can come out of fight or flight mode. That support is pretty essential, but you're going to need a sign for the person that you're there with that you need that. So have that plan. You're also going to need an option for like, if it's during reasonable hours, this is where we can go. A nearby coffee shop, nearby bar, a nearby shopping area or park, depending on the weather. Somewhere that's nearby that you can go if you need an escape. A friend who lives close by. But then you also are going to need like an after hours thing, because what happens if it's like 10:30 and you're hanging out with family and something goes awry? Like, make contingency plans, have options for different times of day. All of that, even if you never use it, having those plans will help you to stay regulated because you know that you have an out. When you feel trapped, you are more likely to get deregulated faster. If you know that you're not ever able to be trapped because you have a way out no matter what, you will likely stay calmer longer. It's that simple. Number 4, lean into your friends, your chosen family, the people who do see you and love you and accept you. If you are traveling and you can't travel with a partner or with a friend, take something that reminds you of them. Have your friends record a pep talk for you that you keep on your phone. Make sure your phone has pictures of all of you together and a memento, something that helps to calm you and to ground you. And if you take the pictures or the video, make sure you're looking at it not like oh, I wish I was with them, but like a reminder that you have people who see your worth and see the value in you and your friendship and relationship with you. And this that you're around isn't going to last forever. It's important to get that right. And then plan your own gathering, either instead of, if you've decided not to go, or as a follow-up in order to have something to look forward to afterwards. Number 5, practice compassionate curiosity, but protect your truth. We are in a different stage right now. There have been a lot of years where we have all said it is unfair to ask the person who is different from you what that is like. And I still stand by that, to be 100% honest, but also for those of us who have the ability, who have the safety, who have the any kind of a privileged place in society, there is some necessity for some of us who have the ability to have important conversations, because that is the only way that gaps get bridged at this point, is to engage in conversations with people who are willing to engage in conversation. And so knowing what the truth is, knowing your truth, knowing how the world works and exists around you, knowing what you believe in is very important. And it's important to be able to be compassionate and curious about other people, but you're not under an obligation to do that to the detriment of your own safety. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I'm not encouraging you to go and put yourself in an emotionally unsafe place in order to further a cause or anything, but conversation with people you can have conversation with is not necessarily a bad thing if you're up for it. But that's as an exchange of ideas and seeing people's point of view, not for justifying your existence. It's very important to remember that anything that you submit as debatable is now up for debate. Gentle reminder for you, self-preservation is not selfish. I don't actually believe that selfishness is a thing, but that's a topic for another day. Self-preservation is important. It's a vital part of existence. It's something that's built into our DNA, is preserving yourself, preserving your sanity, preserving your peace. Those are all things that are sort of already built into us. So leaning into that it's not a bad thing. You're allowed to draw your own boundaries because your life is just as valuable as the opinions of other people. For those of us who grew up in religion or grew up in families that weren't super affirming, it became sort of second nature to hide parts of yourself in order to make them comfortable, centering the experience of a cishet person in your life. So looking around before you hold hands with a partner so that you don't make a cishet person uncomfortable. Making sure that you're not dressing to this or to that because you don't want to come off as too queer, because you don't want to make a cishet person uncomfortable. That's centering their experience and not centering your own. And where possible, I'd really encourage you, stop that. You don't need to center someone else's experience, and you're allowed to start centering your own if you're ready for it. That's something that's very much allowed to be done. And by the same token, we're centering the experience of Christians when we don't talk about how not everything needs to start off with a prayer or whatever, right? Like the assumption that the people who don't pray are just going to bow their heads and be quiet, so the people who do pray to God, to that God and that Messiah, are going to be allowed to pray out loud, but the rest of the people need to be quiet. That's centering the experience of a Christian over the experience of someone who's not. That doesn't really work either. And you are not required to center their experiences over your own. Difficult, yes. Also, it's something you're allowed to do if you're ready to do it. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next time. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other.